Good day, traders. Welcome to my page whereby we share currency indexes weekly. On this page, we'll be analyzing each of the currency pairs, especially for the major currencies. Kindly share and like this video for algorithm purposes so that it can be ranked properly. Now let's dive into the first pair we're going to be working with today, which is the US dollar. We'll start our analysis from the weekly time frame. Now, looking at the weekly time frame, we can see that the dollar has been gaining some momentum to the upside, and it is getting very close towards this supply region on the weekly time frame. And one thing about demand and supply is this: at supply region, we expect that price is likely to reverse or come down, except if there is a break in structure, then supply becomes demand. Now, going to daily time frame, what can we see so far? Now, on the daily time frame, we'll notice that price has already gotten to this supply zone, and if you look at price carefully, it's already showing little sign of reversal. Also, we can expect price to get to this particular place if this particular box fails, if this particular supply zone fails. Would expect price to get to this upper part, and from there the next thing we may be seeing is either a reversal from this side, or we can expect price to go up to this part, then we expect a reversal. Now, why do we expect a reversal? Looking at what the US dollar has been doing, we will notice that it's been moving to the upside, and for us to have a healthy price action, we expect impulse and correction. So we expect some correction from the US dollar to this particular region or this particular region before we can see a movement to the upside. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Let's see what we have. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we've successfully created the higher high from the previous high, and to that effect, we would see that this supply zone can be a place we'll be interested to take our trades from, or also this supply zone. Now, we can also see that on the 4-hour time frame that there is already reversal happening. But mind you that a break in this supply zone for the daily means that price will be able to go up to the second region we are thinking that price will get to, then before we expect a drop to this end or this particular end. Now that's the analysis for the dollar index. Now let's move to the second index which we are going to be taking, and that is euro. Now we'll start our analysis from the weekly time frame. Now, what do we have on the weekly time frame? Now, if you look carefully, you will see that the euro on the weekly time frame has finished its up move and the retracement. Now, we are still within this particular range, so we are expecting a movement to the upside from euro, expecting a movement to the upside, hopefully breaking these two spots for liquidity. Now let's move to the daily time frame to see what the euro is doing. Now, if you look at the euro carefully, we'll notice that the euro has broken down structure to the downside. We have impulse here, correction, impulse, correction that broke this previous high. Now, seeing that the euro is at a daily supply zone, if price will break this supply zone to the upside, then we would expect some bullish movement with the euro on the daily time frame. Then we can expect some retracement to this particular supply zone and further upward movement. Now, let's check what we have for the daily, the 4-hour time frame. Now, on 4-hour time frame, what can we see? On 4-hour time frame, we can see this supply zone. If this supply zone will hold, then we'll be expecting that price should fall. But I doubt if this supply zone is going to work. So let's expect that we'll be having a break to the upside before we get this pair coming to the downside. Now let's move to the next pair. The next pair we'll be taking a look at is GBP. On the weekly time frame, what can we see? On the weekly time frame, we notice that GBP has been trading within this range and this range, as well. It has been trading for some weeks now. Now let's go to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, we can see that GBP USD just took liquidity from the upside and it's coming down to this supply zone. So we can expect that the GBP will be weak to this extent before we see a movement to the upside on the index of GBP. Now, if you go to the 4-hour time frame, we'll still see that we are still making lower highs, lower low. So what do we expect next? We expect GBP to make a lower high up to this place, then lower low, lower high, and lower low. So from here, we should expect a break in market structure. Moving to the next pair, CHF, which is the Swiss franc. On the weekly time frame, we would see that it's on the retracement for the weekly time frame. Okay, it's been an uptrend, higher highs, and this was the previous low, but it just rejected off a very important supply demand zone. So we should expect this to create a higher move to the upside, breaking this previous high. So we should expect this happening. But mind you that this is a weekly time frame, so it's going to take weeks before this is going to happen. Now let's move to the daily time frame. From the daily time frame, we can see that it's been bullish on CHF. So what can we see? We can see higher highs, higher low, higher highs, higher low. And at this point, we're already getting this higher high at this place. And like I said previously, for price to be healthy, we need higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs. So what do we expect from the Swiss franc? We expect a bounce to this demand zone, but before that bounce, we might see price getting to this supply zone or this zone before we get a bounce downwards like this and we move up. Now, if price doesn't bounce off this place, then this is another place of interest, which is a demand zone that will be bouncing off. Now, that's my analysis on daily for the CHF, which is the Swiss franc. Now on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that there is already a break in market structure, creation of higher high. The next thing we would like to see from CHF is to create a retracement to this particular region. Now, there might be a retracement to this particular high before we get a movement to the upside, but I would prefer that we have a retracement to the lower part. Now from here, we might see a movement to the upper part, breaking this supply zone, something like this, taking the supply zone, and we may have another supply zone here or here. Now, and creating a demand zone here before we see a movement to the upside. Now the next pair we'll take a look at is JPY, and this is going to be our last pair for this episode. On the weekly time frame, I see that the JPY has been moving upwards, creating the leg of the impulse on the weekly time frame. Do we see any supply zone? This is the closest supply zone on the weekly. This is the closest supply zone on the weekly. But if we move to the daily, let's see if we will get something of interest to us. On the weekly, we just took liquidity of the previous high, which was this particular high, and we can see that the next supply zone should be this particular high. So we might be expecting price to get to this particular supply zone before we expect a movement to the upside, and hopefully we expect a break in market structure. If you go to the 4-hour time frame, what can we see? Now on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that the price has been making higher highs and higher low, because this is the higher high, higher low, higher high, and we expect price to create a higher low to this particular zone, before a movement to the upside. Don't forget that we majorly trade demand and supply. So this is the demand zone, and we expect a creation of higher highs, and hopefully we may expect another rebounce or retracement, and then we move to this upside. Now that's for the JPY pair. Now if you enjoyed this video, kindly share with your friends for algorithm purposes, and click the like button so that you can get notification each time we share this video. Thank you very much. See you next week.